Good evening and welcome to Cover One Buffalo podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, along with my partner in crime, Aaron Quinn, and our man, Erik Turner. Gentlemen, we have finished day 2 of the 2022 NFL draft, or as Emmitt Smith called it, the 2020 NFL draft. And the Buffalo Bills have selected running back James Cook out of Georgia and linebacker Terrel Bernard out of Baylor. We'll be giving you our reaction, but we are here because of our friends at bookseats.com. We've had an awesome time. We just walked up and down the strip. We watched the light show with the fountains at the Bellagio. Yeah. We saw everything. It's been pretty great.
It's been a great weekend. Yeah, no, it's been a super fun weekend, and the interacting with Bills fans here throughout the weekend, everybody saying go Bills to each other. You always love to see that. Really exciting time. The hotel's been fantastic. Just great accommodations. The NFL is a fun thing. If you get a chance to experience an NFL event, I suggest that you do if you haven't done it.
Yeah, and that visit to the fountain was needed after that second pick, right? And we'll get to it because we needed that relaxing music. And, exactly.
So, let's start out with the fun pick. We went through, and there was a countdown. There was a couple different directions we thought we might go, being able to see some different pieces. We didn't know would it be linebacker. We talked about, Chad Muma.
Let's start out with we walk out there for the pick, and then Brandon Bean extends us a couple of times. So I talked about how we ended up where we ended up tonight.
Yeah, so we walk out there, we're getting ready, we're in the media room, but then we want to see the whole atmosphere and all the fan reactions. So we walk out to the little platform where we can see all the fan area, and we walk out probably like pick 54, 55, and it's coming up on 57, and we hear boom. The Bills have traded back. They dropped from 57 back to pick 60 with Tampa Bay, and they pick up a third or 6th round pick, moving back 3 spots. We're like, okay, well, that's not bad, but it's only 3 spots. Right. We'll hang out for a little while. Then we get up to that pick. Boom, they trade back again from 60 to 63, this time with the Bengals, pick up another 6th round pick. So tomorrow, we'll get to this at the end of the show. Yeah. The Bills have 4 6th round picks, a 5th and a 7th, 6 picks tomorrow on day 3. I promise you, they're not making 6 selections tomorrow.
You keep telling me, I'm going to hold you to it. If they do, I'm going to be real mad here tomorrow if we're holding on to those picks. They better get rid of them.
So we keep kind of listing down. We went over, there are 4 high-end interior offensive line prospects, 4 linebacker prospects we like. So I think our attention was kind of that direction. Right. But they ended up with a prospect that we still liked, but it wasn't what was on our radar at the moment.
Yeah, no, you're right, man. And we talked about Cook and Spiller. Obviously, they showed interest in Spiller. Yeah. So I thought if they're going to go running back, it was going to be Spiller at that time. But we liked the linebackers on the board at that time. And so we honestly thought it was going to be one of those linebackers, right? So when they did pick Cook, I mean, you can't go wrong with the type of player he is. He adds that new dimension to the offense. New coordinator, Ken Dorsey's going to love having a guy like him. Obviously, more of a receiving back. I worry about his vision as a runner, but adding that new dimension, rebranding a little bit, a la James White, as you keep mentioning, and you have for the last 4 years, picking up a running back like that, right? Mm-hmm. So you can do some different things with him. And the thing I like about the most, we've been talking about 2 high coverages this entire offseason, how the Bills always see it with Josh Allen. Well, guess what? Now you can gain leverage on those swing passes, and he can do something with the ball in his hands. Draws. I mean, you have a light box with the 2 high coverage. You have a draw play up the middle. He's going to get you a little more than a Devin Singletary would.
We'll talk about even the dynamic you can put a linebacker in where you have some deep routes and a linebacker has to choose, is Josh going to pull it down and come up the middle, or is he going to dump it off 15 yards out to the right past the numbers to James Cook? That linebacker having to make that choice.
Or if a team's playing man against you and you bring him out to the slot and force a linebacker to go play coverage on him, like, good luck with that. I like that line matchup a lot.
Scheme indicator, bring him in motion.
You have to respect him as a receiver. You got to have a plan either with your personnel. Okay, do you trust your linebacker one-on-one with him in man coverage? Or what are you doing coverage-wise? When you have a guy out of the backfield or out wide like that, I mean, he is so good in that option game, in that out of the backfield. He can run a curl, an out route, an in route, or like you said, right up the seam versus a linebacker matching him. He's going to be a mismatch in a lot of ways. And add that other dynamic of jet sweeps. He can do some of that. I mean, I know it's cliche, the Deebo Samuel stuff, in the backfield, on jet sweeps. He is a new weapon. And who knows, add a couple backs and personnel wise on the same play. Yeah, you can do some different things.
Some touches. Yeah. Yes. For me, I was upset that it wasn't an interior offensive line pick. To be honest with you, that's the route I wanted to go because I think that there's more need at that position, but I was really happy that they did get this guy finally, because I think they wanted it to be Duke Johnson. That was insurance in case they weren't able to find it here in this offseason. And this is, in my opinion, at least more upside than Duke Johnson. And in that same type of role, like you had mentioned, I love James White. I love that idea for that type of running back in this offense. McKissick was going to be that guy for me. That didn't work out. So I really like where they're at with that. So you have the pros of his hands. You've got the 90% catch rate for him for the year. And then the thing I like the most is that yak. You talk about manufacturing ways to get him the ball. He had a 10.1 yards after catch per reception last year. That's the type of stuff we needed from the Bills this year that you're not getting. In 2 high shells, dump out, you're going to have 7 free yards, somebody that can make that into 12. That's exactly what the Bills need to keep moving the chain. So I like that, manufacture him some touches. But you had talked about this earlier. This is not a, hey, now we're free of Devin Singletary's contract in a year. That is not this move.
Yeah. So one, you mentioned J.D. McKissick. Regardless of how it ended up, they very clearly have a plan for this role in the office. They had a $7 million contract in place for McKissick, and because that fell through, they spent a 2nd-round pick.
They were in on James White.
Cook. They were in on James White talking with him.
They wanted Le'Veon Bell when he was a free agent in a couple of years. That's that same role.
And so I have to assume that's something Ken Dorsey pushed this year to say, hey, I need that piece here. You talk about Josh Allen talking about the ball placement, creating the opportunity, knowing he needed to focus on setting up his guys for more yards after catch. And then I know people are connecting this with Devin Singletary. I don't want to say it has no impact because it's still a running back in the 2nd round, but it has very, very little impact on Devin Singletary. My idea is this is the complement that's going to go along with the guy we draft next year, because we let Singletary's contract expire. We let him walk. You probably have another Duke Johnson type veteran minimum backup. And then we see
next year
what, actual, between the tackles, every down feature back type guy is there in the 2nd round or at pick 32 at the end of the 1st round.
Exactly.
And now you have a guy that can be that James Cook, that he's always going to be a part of the offense. He's going to be there as a weapon, but he's probably a 5 to 8 carry guy with targets out of the backfield and can be that 2-minute drill guy.
It's a role that worked for Peyton Manning really well. The Patriots used the crap out of that role, having that 3rd down back, that
Bernard.
That pass catching back, Gio Bernard. Like the smart quarterbacks know they need that. And I do think you're right that it was a Dorsey push. Like, hey, we finally have to get this weapon that we've needed in the offense for a while. It's going to open things up for
the 2nd tight end and
else.
the passing back. Those are things that not that Brian Dable didn't care about them, but it just wasn't as high of a priority as what it was.
Right.
So I know Eric put together a little bit of a clip here for us. We're going to run it for you. It's got some different ways that Cook's been used in some different areas here. And then we'll be back right after that to talk a little bit more and to switch into the 3rd round. So obviously, a dynamic weapon here to be able to add, and someone that we're excited about here. Cam, we appreciate you. It's been his comment here. It's been a fun 2 nights, and I'm happy with the speed upgrade so far. I appreciate your hard work, earned the chance for you boys to hang out in person. Thanks for what you do. We appreciate you very much, man. This has been awesome. So any final comments on James Cook?
No, like I said, I think his production as a runner is a little worrisome. But again, for his role right now, I think that's as good as a receiver. And again, as a weapon, whether it's in the passing game or the running game, but also personnel. Like, you're going to have a different type of personnel. Dable always liked 10 personnel, 11 personnel. Well, guess what? Again, what if you run multiple backs now? How are you defending that? Are you going to put a linebacker? You're going to go to, a base defense and put a linebacker against James Cook? Good luck with that.
How about, here's a fun idea. You set up in a 22 personnel, but your 22 is Dawson Knox, OJ Howard, Reggie Gilliam, James Cook.
Sure.
All of a sudden, Josh steps back. Everybody splits out. All of them can be receivers, and you open that up, and all of a sudden, oh, hey, guess what? You brought in your third linebacker. Best of luck.
Yes.
Yeah. I think probably my only concern is you talking about the lack of vision, right? Like, as a ball carrier, having lack of vision. That was my frustration. I know a lot of people like CJ Spiller in his time here. My frustration was you have speed without vision. That really sort of neuters some of that speed at the NFL level. Like, and we saw a little bit of that with Matt Breida too. Like, he had that speed, but that vision's not there to use the speed in the right way. And so that concerns me a little bit. I don't know if that's a lack of opportunities that he had running the ball at Georgia, or if he just needs more comfort on the field, get a feel for that. But that would probably be my big concern if you are relying on him to be a guy that's going to not just get the yards after the catch on the dump offs, but create some yardage at the NFL level. He's going to need vision.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to consider his primary rushing between the tackle pure bonus. If that develops over time and is something we get, that's great. But do they care what Gio Bernard or James White's between the tackle rushing ability is? It's just not what they're there
just
for.
Get them in space.
Yeah, so get them out of space, use them in there. So as we then switch, we go back inside. We start doing some work. We start creating our list. I had 10 prospects I was really pumped about. Dylan Parham.
I still had interior offensive line.
Jeremy Rucker. A lot of guys. Heck, Nakobe Dean was still there. Through a lot of these stretches. A lot of players were like, okay, there's a lot of options here. We're really excited. We go out there and we see one of the most incredible introductions to a draft pick ever. Kyle Brandt is going to live in Bills Mafia lore forever, going crazy, already saying the 57th Super Bowl champions. This draft pick is going to be famous because he's going to step in and win a Super Bowl in his rookie year. Ingratiated himself even more to Bills, but took a huge bite out of a chicken wing.
A heel. The crowd was just
brought it on. The wrestling heel turn.
Suck or something. He said something like that.
And then he had to double check the card because I'm pretty sure he wasn't familiar with the player. And the Buffalo Bills select undersized but super athletic weak side linebacker from Baylor. And Eric will fill in the reason that Baylor matters here in a moment. Terrel Bernard is honestly, I put up the comparison on my Twitter handle, a mimic of what Matt Milano was coming out of college.
Really similar.
But a guy that politely I'll say was not on our radar. Was not a guy we were expecting, was not a guy that we saw in this range or expected to it. So we're not going to try to sugarcoat that this was some magical
I had no knowledge of who he was before tonight. I'm not even going to pull punches with you guys. I'm not. I wasn't scouting a lot. I wasn't into linebackers really. That wasn't a target for me, except for some of the guys at the top I liked, and some of the guys that Erik had turned me on to late in the process when we heard those rumors about Edmonds. But this was not a guy on my radar. No. And from the looking him up and stuff, and we'll get into it here. The idea of getting a special teams guy here makes me a little bit frustrated.
Yeah, and Dave Aranda is the coach at Baylor. He was the defensive coordinator at LSU when the Bills drafted Trey White. Yeah. So, and he's part of McDermott's inner circle, right? He's
super close relationship.
He's a guy that literally he trusts whatever Aranda says.
And what was the comment about Terrel Bernard that Dave Aranda made?
Yeah, so when he was asked, and this is from Dane Brugler from The Athletic, he got a quote from Dave Aranda, and the quote is, "When I think of the heart, soul, and character of our team, I think of him."
You talk about what
Baylor guys.
Yeah, what is a McDermott DNA kind of situation? One of his trusted inner circle people saying, leadership when I think of the heart and soul of our team, I think of this guy, Sugar Bowl MVP, team captain. I'm going to try to cling to. Sure. He did have a high amount of pressures and sacks for an off-ball linebacker,
very much like Milano.
Yes, so some production coming up.
Maybe
all I can see is developmental linebacker with day one special teams ability. And I know I wish I could credit who it was. Somebody in the thread that we were talking through, people are trying to throw, oh, is this a Tremaine Edmonds replacement? Tremaine Edmonds is 6'5", 260 and faster than Terrel Bernard.
Right.
Is this a Matt Milano replacement? No. I mean, Milano is, and one of the elite coverage linebackers in the NFL. Maybe it's a Tyler Medikevich replacement.
Well, even Dotson.
Right.
Okay, so Dotson was just under 6'1", like Bernard, but he weighed 237 pounds.
Yeah.
Bernard's what, 223, 224?
Yeah, right there.
So it's a different. And
bringing
Dotson
back
played
Dotson was like, okay, you can move on
for this year,
like
and
that.
he's only
Right.
here for 1 year, as we know right now. But he had that versatility coming out where he could play Mike and Will, which I know Bean said that, but he also admitted that he would be undersized as a Mike. I don't think he's going to play Mike.
Yeah, so a 6 foot, 220 pound linebacker.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to play linebacker. If it is, honestly, like if it is, I think maybe in like 4 years, this would be like a slow development from everything I'm reading and sounding. It doesn't sound like this is going to be a guy. If it does, it's going to be a surprise to me. And I hope that everybody that's watching this will go back and prove me wrong and put it on Twitter and let me know how dumb I was.
Make
because
us
I
feel
want the Bills
for being wrong.
Yes, I want the Bills to
about
succeed.
this.
But this pick, so I like that James Cook pick quite nice. And I thought we could have a nice afternoon, but this really brought me back down to kind of like a meh overall.
Yeah,
like,
meh. For sure.
Maybe it could
that
be
might
something
be
that's
being nice about it.
Yeah,
it is.
I will say it doesn't. I'm happy about the first two picks. Kaiir Elam, we talked about last night. The upside, the fit, the need. After hearing his interview, I really felt good about the kind of player that he was and the intellect of what we're adding.
The right type.
Again, James Cook wasn't on my immediate radar, but was a guy I liked.
I like him.
And they're going to play.
Correct. He's going to play. He's going to be an immediate contributor. He was ESPN's #1 running back available at the time. He was the third overall running back taken in the class.
And for me, it's like Bruce Nolan getting his cornerback with speed. For me, it's like getting that position that I finally wanted. It's not necessarily the guy I wanted for that position, but we check that box.
Yeah, and your man, Pat Moran. This was his #1 guy. Pat Moran loved James Cook.
Yeah, congratulations.
A lot of Georgia fans in our life were very excited about this pick.
Go Dogs.
And then, okay, at worst, we got a special teams contributor. At best, we get a developmental linebacker here. And ultimately, we have pro scouts that do this day in and day out. Yes. And if they think they found some diamond in the rough that we just don't know about, God bless them. That'd be awesome if we stumble upon something special here that we just don't know about.
It'll be good, too, because he'll get that year to play special teams, learn the system, and more importantly, put on even more strength and weight.
Milano was that same size.
So he can be that.
Milano plays like 235
now.
Like Milano's put on 15 pounds of muscle. You see him in the workout videos. That dude's jacked.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So,
my problem is, and we talked about this on the ride over, guys, if it is just special teams, that's all he's going to be, is the type of investment we see Brandon Beane and this team continue to put into special teams guys. I don't love it. I don't love that type of investment into just special teams. You got Surian Neal being your ace. Like, I'm fine with having one or two of those guys, but it seems like they've really put a priority on getting these types of guys in there to have long-term. And I get special teams is a big part of football.
Sure.
You don't want to have those guys screw up. It is important, but it seems like they maybe overinvest compared to the rest of the league.
So the one silver lining that I want to keep is the way they made the trade backs. The Bills now have a 5th, 4, 6, and a 7th. They have the flexibility to move up all the way up to the first pick of the 4th round tomorrow.
Go get my guy.
And they actually could make 2 packages if you switch around like the highest of the 5th and the later 6th and 7th, and then the 3 6s. You can move up to 2 4th round picks.
Right.
A handful of the guys that we looked at yesterday are still on the clock.
Yeah.
They're still out there to be had.
Right.
So if they come back tomorrow and trade up to get a tight end and a guard, and they're guys that we like, I won't really care.
You just want us to get
leapfrogged. I want to say likely really, really bad. Yeah. But if they fill that out with the class, I'm not going to care that they maybe splurged a little bit on a special teams linebacker.
Sure.
If we see more picks where we can't see the path to the roster or to the field, I'll be a little disappointed. But ultimately, it doesn't bring down my feeling on the class. Just that was a missed opportunity in that 3rd round.
Yeah, my problem. So you keep telling me we're going to move up, and I'm going to hold you to that tomorrow because I do think that's the plan.
And Bean did say it in the presser tonight.
He did, and we've seen this has been a very aggressive draft. People are willing to move around in this draft, so I think it is more likely than not that happens. But there's a chance that you because you require somebody else to be in a position to move up, that either you could get not a great deal if nobody's willing to go up, or everyone knows the Bills don't want to leave with all those picks. So it's not a great position to be in terms of, negotiating and leveraging these deals. And if you get caught with your pants down, that really stinks to be the Bills and get caught with a bunch of these picks. These guys aren't going to be
I don't know about you.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to see another 4 like special teamers.
No, I'm not into it. I'm not into that. I want to come
get 1 or 2.
I'll take a punter in the 6th round. Give me a punter in the 6th round.
Let's move these together.
Give me Jordan Stout. Give me Matareza. Give me somebody there who could, because I know that's a path to the roster.
Sure.
And I know it's a contract controlled 4-year cheap deal. But yeah, don't give me a developmental project safety that's not going to beat out Jaquan Johnson or DeMar Hamlin.
Right.
Don't give me another project linebacker. Don't give me another project tackle. Like, there's just not paths to the roster in those spots. We know a tight end can beat out Tommy Sweeney.
Sure.
We know a guard can
interior offensive
potentially
lines where I'm
beat out Cody Ford. We'll see. There were some comments in the presser about Cody Ford getting a fresh start with Aaron Cromer.
Hope is not a plan.
Yeah, it is. Someone really smart must have said that. Any final thoughts for the folks, Eric, before we head into tomorrow? Any wish list items for you that I didn't touch on?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Rucker, but Isaiah Likely, like his blocking, I mean, I have a compilation cut up. And then, if they do draft him, it's a fun one. I do like his blocking, so I do think he would be a nice target for them to come up and get. And I think Cromer would love him because, he could teach some of that technique that he teaches offensive linemen, tight ends, and wide receivers. And I think he could execute it and create those soft edges so that a guy like James Cook could get on the perimeter or Singletary on the perimeter. So I think Likely is a good one. I mean, Kobe Bryant's still out there. I know they went with Elam in the first round, but those are guys that we've kind of started to like, and I think that would fit really, really well and would have a role. As I said, I don't want just special teamers. Like, find a role for these guys.
So I got to apologize because Parham is off the board. I missed that pick by the Raiders. So
I was just trying to look at so I could get the best available.
That bothers me. That actually makes my night a little bit worse. So missing that pick with all the buzz going around there at the Draft Live, so I missed that one. So I'm on board with what Eric said though. Like, I'm cool with a double dip at cornerback because we know how thin that can get real quick in the NFL. So I'd be cool with doing that. I see a possible place on a roster for a guy that's just a depth corner for this team. So I like that. I really do want to still address this interior offensive line, though. I think that's one of the position groups as a whole that it's not for a lack of investment that Bean hasn't done well with this group. It's just that he didn't hit on Ford. You had Darrell Williams come in, and then now he's gone, and now you're bringing in a Saffold. He could hit a wall at any point. You don't know what's going on. So there's still a lot of unknown there. And to the point we made earlier, Spencer Brown wasn't supposed to play last year either. Injuries could change everything, and then you're really thin at interior offensive line. So I'd like to get something there here. But to Eric's point, I just don't want a bunch of guys that are going to be Rashad Wild Gooses that get cut and get brought on by somebody else or get claimed off our practice squad or something like that. I'm not interested in wasting those assets there. So let's move up, get some guys that can contribute to this team. Even if it's not now, have a path to the future on this roster, and walk away from this draft not having 6 more players.
Yeah, absolutely right. So check it out. We're going to have live coverage again tomorrow. Make sure you're checking those guys out. There's going to be another detailed breakdown of James Cook and everything going on from Kendall and from Anthony. Make sure you're checking that out. We're going to have video drops and quick reactions for the picks that go on tomorrow. But on behalf of Erik Turner and Aaron Quinn, I'm Greg Tompsett. You've been listening to Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.